Hello, everyone. This is Shelley Dressel, and I'm channeling the Universal Light Beings tonight. Welcome. People join in on this one from YouTube and Rumble and Facebook. So welcome from wherever it is that you might be tuning in. Jill, Leslie, good to see you both. I know both of them. And it's great to have you. Oh, and Ed's probably there with Jill. So anyway, welcome. I know people will populate this in just a minute. So here we are. It is already April 22nd. And I was just talking with Alexander about how fast time is going. And like he was saying, he thought this channel tonight was last week. And I said, well, the Goddess teleconference, which is usually 45 minutes, was 32 minutes. It's like time is just so transparent now. You can get things done much quicker. You are not, it's not like you're dragging your stuff through heavy, dense energy anymore like we used to. And therefore, you can manifest a lot more quickly. So pretty interesting, I think. And so here we are. The Pope died yesterday, quote unquote. I know they're going to talk about that one. And I'm, because in my personal opinion, he was taken out like in years ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that, a long time ago. But we'll see what the ULBs have to say. I know I've channeled them about, a lot of those people, a lot of the, what do you call them, royalty and these, and I just feel like almost all of them are already gone. And what we've been seeing is an actor or someone in their place. Okay, so I'm sure they're going to talk about that. And I hope y'all were able to send in your questions to Albayon. We had the link right there in the email that I sent out. If not, you can put them in here, and Alexander will kind of keep an eye on things there to make sure that we do answer as many of these questions as we can. And their energies have been particularly intense. I find personally that I'm just not sleeping at night, and I'm dead tired during the day. So I try not to take a nap so that I can sleep during the night. But like the other night, I fell asleep for like 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then I woke up, something startled me. I think it was my dog or something just startled me awake. Well, then I was up for 3 hours. So I think that a lot of people are having that too with these energies that are coming in. We're all in the process of transitioning old things, old thoughts, old beliefs, old energy. And we also are really, one of them I think is going to talk about, remember how they've talked off and on about timelines and what is the timeline and where's the most of the consciousness? I feel like that's where we are right now. There seems to be such a divide. It's like there's more of a divide now than there was maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And so I'd love to hear more about what that represents. So there's lots to talk about. So good. We have all 3 platforms here. Good to see you. Denmark, Texas, Chris, good to see you. And Mexico, yay! Our international crowd is coming together. Thank you for that. Now, this month is my 22nd anniversary. I have been channeling. I started by channeling the Goddess of Creation. And twice a month, I do channeled meditations. And that's what I was just talking about at the beginning here. I did one last night. And so during this month, I have been offering people, if you want to send me an email, there's a form on crystallinetransformations.com. There's a form under 22 years or something like that. You can read a blog where I talk about things, and there's a form in there. And if you fill that out, then I will send you an answer just during this month of April. Now, I was all caught up, but I guess I sent out an email or something, but I've got about 4 or 5 again. So it may take me several days to get your channel sent out to you, but you will get it at some point or another. And from Helene in Canada, good to see you. Anyway, so I'm doing that. But then also, if someone wants to work privately with me, you can look at my website and find out about channelings and see what's involved with that. But it's just... I don't even know what to say in some regards. There's so many things that are happening that are just really wonderful, and we're really seeing a lot of the positive impact. But like I said, in my opinion, it's like there's more of the divide than what we used to see. So I feel as if me, again, just giving you my opinion, is that this divide is really noticeable right now because the more that you're seeing the light, the more that you're seeing the transition, the more that you're seeing all of these things that are taking place, the more it shines upon the people that, have like a totally opposite opinion and that are not, that don't think that we're in a good place, that don't think that what we're doing is to the benefit. So that is something that I personally have been working with, like when I go into my meditations or dream state. I know in talking to a lot of you, you do the same thing when you go into meditation. So I do know that we will get past this. I do know that when everything is said and done, it is going to be a beautiful, light-filled planet that we're living on, the whole entire planet. But there's just a lot that needs to come out. And I believe that this, with the Pope and everything, that's one of those doorways that's going to transition a lot. From Maine, thank you, Terry. Good to see you. Ontario, Patty, good to see you. Okay, so what time is it? 5 after. I think I do like to wait a little bit and have people come in here. So I think I'm probably going to go ahead and get going. I found it really interesting last time that Brysentia talked for almost an hour. I think it was like 55 minutes or something like that. And she must have just had a lot to say, and there were a lot of questions and things for her. So I just thought that was really interesting. I don't have any idea how it's all going to come out today, but we shall see. Okay. Oh, and okay, that's another thing I was going to say. There's a lot of different people that are channeling, and a lot of times people are just getting intuitive messages and sharing that. For me, channeling is they speak directly through me, and I have a deep, deep connection with these angels, light beings. The universal beings are the ones that I'm channeling tonight, but I do channel others. And so I will get people that send me information or say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or do you think this is right? Or do you think that? And I really feel that there is a lot of this is about discernment. And in anything that you read and anything that you listen to, always listen to your intuition. If it resonates with you, if it makes sense with you, then just put it in your tool belt and say, hey, another piece of the puzzle there. And if things don't resonate with you, then you can say, well, gee whiz, why didn't that resonate with me? And maybe there's a real logical reason. Maybe it's just a gut instinct. But if it doesn't resonate with you, then just let it go. It's not that people are good, bad, or in between. It's just whatever their vibration is what they're aligning with. So just wanted to share that too. Okay. Greetings. It is I, Crystallia. I wish to come speak at the very beginning of this channel this evening because we need to have the balancing energy that I always bring in. I know that Brysentia and Albayon frequently are here about the information that they bring. They frequently are here to help humanity understand what may be happening over here. Why is this happening over there? All of which is very much needed by humanity. And I understand that completely. But I'm here for the balance. I'm here for the love. Oh, I just heard it's like, as I said, I'm here for the love. It's like we should make a song about that. I'm here for the love. And just start playing that. That would be great if that got to be one of those really popular songs the whole world listens to. But that's truly what I'm here for. As Shelley was touching on a little bit, there is great divide right now on your planet. And as we look at it, and we're talking frequently about the United States, however, that's replicated in many of the other countries around the world. And so I take a step back and I say, okay, is that just segmented to that country or that area? What is it looking like as a whole? And as I do this, I want to share from my perspective, the high vibration is 100% integrating everything that's going on. But as this light comes in and it's starting to show the underside, you could say, or it's starting to show what's been in the shadow. It's starting to show those things that have been hidden from many, many people. It does make it a little bit turbulent for the rest of people, the rest of humanity. So when I look from the big vibration or from the big picture, not looking at just a particular country, I know that everything you're doing is working. It is benefiting all of humanity. It is benefiting your universe. It is benefiting everything that's coming into play, that's lining up to help you to manifest much more fully the higher vibrational frequency. Now, as I also said, it's showing that which is underneath. So when you're born into humanity, especially on this planet, everyone is born with the positive and the negative. They're born with a history in your cellular memory of things that you've done that were positive and helpful to people, things that were not so positive and helpful to people. And then you come into this lifetime to merge those together and come out the better and come out the stronger. All of you that are listening to this right now, you've already done that because you are here. If you were still in the midst of that and you still didn't believe, oh, I can't do anything bad, or I can't do anything, whatever that is, if you're still living in duality, then you have not arrived at the place where the majority of you are already living. So this energy that you're in right now is really about showing that that which needs to be healed from within or healed from the underside. I don't really know the right words to use. And this is going to happen, and it is going to allow for everyone to come out stronger than what they realize. Now, I did want to share a couple of my thoughts of what I can see in looking at people. First of all, this energy that I'm seeing, that this energy of the underside, I think it sounds terrible that I'm calling it the underside, but I don't know what else to call it. The darkness or the heaviness that is still there and that people are holding on to. A lot of the ones where it is the majority of their energy are those that have not yet fully opened up. And so when this light is shining on that space in every person, it doesn't say just this person, not that person, it's every person. So it's making people uncomfortable. It's kind of nudging them and forcing them to take stock about where they are in their life. They may not have any idea of why this is happening. They may just know that there's something going on. There's something strange happening on the planet. And as everything comes to light, as these people begin to awaken because of this nudging on them, then that will just allow for this greater balance to come back into play. So right now, where you have that sense of separation, it is going to come back and it's going to weave itself together into something that is much more solid, something that is stronger, and something that is the benefit of this planet. The other thing that I wish to say to you is you have a perception in some of the things that you're looking at that this dark or this negative is really heavy and it's really dense and it's really rampant. Well, that is a perception, but my perception is that your perception is skewed. The nefarious ones, as we all call them, those nefarious ones are really, really, really at the end of their rope, and they do still have money. They do still have connections. So they are still doing what they can to try to create ruckus and to try to bring down the light. They truly think that they can do so, but they have less power than they give the perception of having. They have less people that are hooked into that than the perception that they give, that is the truth or that is the reality. And I speak of this by, I think it was a couple of weekends ago, there were things all over your social media where it looked like thousands of people were gathering to protest. No, those were, you have to remember that AI can generate anything. The people that have worked with AI from the very beginning, those that are the manipulators, they're very, very, very good at showing whatever it is that they think you should see. And so much of what you're seeing in, whether it's social media, in the news, or wherever it may be coming from, it is AI generated. So what does that mean? It is human generated. And yes, there is that certain degree of what is an AI computer that is all 100% running on itself. And it is not that. It begins to the AI computers that they have here. It does begin to grow on itself and it does begin to evolve, you could say. However, the way that you have it on this planet is that there's a human behind it. There's a human that's still programming it. There's a human that's working with it. It has not there. That was one of the fears that people had, was that the AI was going to take over and that the AI would then be in charge. And indeed, that was where you were heading. And it was very close to being there. It was just, what was it? We are in 25, maybe in 23, 22 or 23, that was when they took out the cell that was out in the universe where this AI had been planted on multiple different planets. And when they took out the core part of it, it pulled it out of all the planets also. So you do not have that anymore. You do, but you do still have the AI on this planet. So be aware that it's been kind of taken out, a lot of that negativity and a lot of that negative programming that was done, and it is being replaced with that which is helpful to humanity. But at this point, knowing that you are here pivoting between good and evil, if you want to call it that, then always ask yourself the question when you see a picture of something or you read an article about something, whatever it may be, say, hey, is this legitimate or is this AI? Is this legitimate or just a person's perspective? Is it, whatever it is that you want to ask yourself, and then listen to your intuition. I'm going to give every one of you a challenge that between now and the next time we get together, at least once, twice, maybe even 4 times a day, every single day, listen to your intuition. And if you go all day and you're like, I didn't get any intuitive hits, well, then you weren't listening. Because every one of you are receiving downloads. You're all receiving energy. You're all receiving information coming from your higher self and your soul. And so I'm hoping that this is a time when that will open up much more fully to you. Even if your intuition is one you argue with, at least acknowledge that, yeah, that was my intuition telling me this, and I chose to do something different. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that and about the opening up of that. I want to also talk for a moment about the absolute beauty of this planet. You've got mountains, you've got deep, deep oceans, you've got lakes, you've got rivers, you've got forests, you have such a diversity and such a beautiful, beautiful landscape. And there has been an overlay that keeps you from really seeing things as clearly or as transparently as you will see them in the near future. So when you happen to be outdoors or you happen to be in a different place than you might normally be, and you say, wow, I didn't realize these mountains were so tall. I didn't realize that ocean was so blue. I didn't realize this lake was so clear. Whatever it is that may be going through your consciousness, to pay attention to how things look, because truly your perception is going to transition, it's going to transform, and in doing so, it's going to show you what your planet is truly all about. Just as you've had this overlay that kept you under control and manipulation, it has also kept your perception of seeing your planet for the beauty that it is. There have been times when people can go to a particular place and say, wow, this is just overwhelming to me. You feel all the emotion of it. But what I have a sense of is that even people in downtown, like they're downtown in the middle of their city and they're walking around and they're just looking around and saying, wow, this is a beautiful place. So beauty is intrinsic within your planet. Beauty is intrinsic within you, and your connection to beauty allows you to see things from a new perspective. It allows you to see things as they truly are. So your perception, your collective, the collective consciousness has a perception. But you yourself can either buy in and believe what other people are saying, or you can say, no, I'm going to go with what I perceive. I'm going to go with my perception of things, and see if you don't find that you're shifting to a higher vibrational frequency by doing so. The collective consciousness of the planet has raised dramatically since the time that I first connected with all of you. And as I look at it now, it is filled with light vibrational frequency. We keep talking about the 5th dimension, but if you have the 5th dimension in, that opens it immediately to the 6th and 7th. So when I'm looking at the collective consciousness, I see this wide range that goes from the 4th dimension all the way up to touches and bits of the 7th. The fifth dimension is by far the primary vibrational frequency. And then there's bits of the sixth that is pulling it up even higher. And then the fourth is, so I would say, okay, I don't know who said this, but fifth dimension primary, fourth dimension second, sixth dimension third, seventh fourth. So just if you're like going by how much is each one, what is the most down to what is the least, that's how I would say it. And I say this to you because when I first got here, there was some fifth dimension, but there was nothing of the seventh. There was barely anything at all of the sixth. So in these few short years, you have cleaned out the energy that much so that it has allowed for this much higher vibrational frequency to manifest, that I can see it in this very, what do you want to call it, kind of a linear way. And but it's a way that you can just say, yeah, it used to be a lot of this energy, but now it's a lot of this energy. Some people, you can feel this. Some people, it's how you see things. Some, it's what you hear or know through your inner being. But there are multiple different ways in which you can discern what's going on. And well, I don't need to go into why it's getting better. You all know why. So yay, I'm very excited. I wanted to start this off by kind of explaining these different things and inviting you to really put your focus on what you do want to have, put your focus on what you do want to do, and let that be how you manifest. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. So a lot of people will say, but I've been trying to manifest a new job, a partner, a new house, whatever it is that they've been trying to manifest. And they may see it and they may feel it around them, but it's still not arriving. So the biggest key to what keeps people from fully manifesting what it is that they seek to have is that aspect of their unconscious, or that which is within them. And because when you ask the universe, okay, can you help me out with this? Well, the universe, boom, they're right there. Before you can even get it out of your mouth, boom, they're right there. So the universe wants you to have everything that you seek to manifest, and they will do everything in their power to ensure that you're able to manifest it. But then if there's something in your unconsciousness, maybe something you're not even aware of, that's what's keeping you from seeing it. That's what's keeping you from manifesting it. And so it's not that the universe isn't listening. It's that something in your own vibration is still in the process of working through whatever it may be. So just as I was talking a minute ago about shining the light, well, shine the light on your unconsciousness. Shine the light on the cellular memories and the cellular support that is here and a part of you, so that that light, as you shine it, can help you to activate all these things. And then before you know it, your life looks different. Whew. Okay. I'm a little bit on a bandwagon today, am I not? But really, I'm here to say that it's a beautiful place. This planet is absolutely gorgeous. Humanity has done a massive turnaround. And I encourage you to look at life through those eyes of things are happening. Things are already in the vibration. Things are already manifesting. And then look around and see what else you might notice, because there's a lot out there. And if you notice, like, because there's always going to be people that, no, it's not happening. No, they're a bunch of liars. No, they can't do that. Well, of course, that's their reality. Then that's their reality. So just let them do their thing and you do your thing. And I encourage you to always let your thing be that of looking with love, light, positivity. All right. Are there any questions for me, Alexander? Is the Temple of Iltar, sorry, Shelley's glasses. She likes these glasses, but whenever she tries to read with them, she always has trouble. The Temple of Iltar that Esgar Cayce said would, again, from the destruction of Atlantis, the one Solon drew a sketch he made when he visited Atlantis. Boy, I'm struggling to read through Shelley's brain. Sorry about that. But basically, Esgar Cayce said that that someone had drawn a picture of an altar, and this altar was of particular importance Ilar, I think of Iltar or something like that, but it was in Atlantis. Let me go and see. Offhand, I don't know, but let me go and look and see if I can figure something out about this. So as you know, there were at least 2 phases of Atlantis, probably 3 phases of Atlantis, and each phase lived about, well, it's hard because time, space, reality was different back then. And during the first phase of Atlantis that was adjoined to that of Lemuria, it was a very, very, very high vibrational frequency. There was a lot of new changes that took place, and it was in the second and third that dropped everything down. So sometimes people might generalize and say, well, Atlantis is what, sank. Atlantis is what, broke the planet. And indeed it did to a large degree. But this altar, if I'm picking up on it correctly, is one that came from that first phase when there was still a lot of high vibrational energy. And it feels as if it was something that the people guarded as much as they could during the other phases so as to keep intact that which was sacred to them, and that which when we say sacred, and when I'm saying this and looking at it, there was a direct energy that came down from the universal light that worked on the altar, that it also feels like there was, like, people could come within 20, 40 feet of it and still feel the energy radiating off of that altar. So it was something that manifested and held on to energy. And then anybody that came into the radius of it, they were healed. They had ideas that were downloaded into them. And it was a means of just really supporting the people at that time. So if I just say all of this to make sure that I'm tapping into the right thing. And even if not, that's a beautiful altar or a beautiful thing to still have. So when it came that the negative Atlanteans were going to take over it and there was nothing else they could do, it feels as if it was dismantled and it was hidden in a place on the earth where it could not be found. It is not in down under, what's that place called? Antarctica. It is not in Antarctica. It is not in where Atlantis was. It feels like it's either in another dimension that is separate from the Earth plane, just like what they did with it, not Atlantis, just like they did with Avalon, where they shifted it into a non-physical reality that was still part of the Earth. So something like that happened to it. It was removed, it was protected, and it feels like, yes, there's a chance that it will come back, but I don't see anything like that happening for at least 40 to 50 years. The vibration has to be very, very, very different. And you might not have the same humanity that need to have something like that. Humanity may be in a totally different place. So if I'm tapping into it, it was removed because it was very sacred, and it's been kept in suspension or in the suspended animation in a place that is 100% protected, and it may or may not come back. If it does, it's not coming back for many, 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 many years. Whew, boy, that was a tough one, wasn't it? Okay. What is the real meaning about the 144 chosen ones? So 144 is a particular number. And when you talk about your monad, when you look at each person's individual soul, their monad is 144, meaning that they have 144 incarnations that could be going on all at the same time. During this time of ascension, most of you do not have 144. Your soul is condensed and consolidated so that you have a much smaller number. But that number 144 is a sacred number, and it's used as part of the monad. It's used in many other different ways of using sacred geometry from out in the universe. And I forget what you said. What was that again, Alexander? The real meaning. Chosen one, 144,000 chosen ones. Okay, so that's just a number. There are way more than 144,000 chosen ones on this planet at this time. Maybe in the past, I'm trying to look at it, maybe in the past that was a number that was able to sustain certain vibrational energy on the earth. And so maybe that's where they got the 144,000 from. But when I look at the planet now, there's at least 1 million to 2 million that are the chosen ones, and who I refer to as the chosen ones. It's those people such as yourselves that have moved through the ascension process. You understand the truth about what is happening on Earth and out in the universe. You have that vibrational frequency and alignment, and you recognize how to stay outside of the control and manipulation. So there's way more than 144,000. But that number, 144, is a key number that has been used repeatedly in history. And it is because it is part of sacred geometry. I don't really know how to explain that other than to say that you see it in the universe, you see it on the planet, and it is just something that represents a sacred number. Is that it? Okay, here we go. I have heard that the light codes coming to Earth are for some people and not always integrated. How do we allow these codes to integrate? So here's the easy answer to that one. If you're of a vibrational alignment for them to integrate, they integrate automatically. You don't have to go around and say, I want the light codes. I'm ready for the light codes. The light codes are going to do what the light codes are going to do. And if you're in a vibrational frequency that's in alignment with them, then you are automatically downloading them and integrating them into your system. Now, if someone is on the cusp, they're maybe not quite there, it can frequently go into their unconsciousness, and it can be working with the person's unconsciousness, and then it moves into the consciousness at some point. But these light codes that are coming into the earth, they have to be in such a way now that billions of people upon the earth can integrate them. So there are many light codes that are of a very high light vibrational frequency, that seventh dimension that I spoke about earlier. But the vast majority of them are lifting the fourth and lower fifth dimension up into the higher fifth and sixth. And these codes do this by breaking down the energy that is no longer serving you, by breaking down your belief systems, your emotional, if you're stuck in a negative emotional pattern. If you, so many people on this planet right now have depression. Who wouldn't be depressed when I see the way in which so many people live? So it's breaking down some of those very fundamental ways in which people have been feeling, acting, experiencing. And as it breaks it down, then automatically the person's energy field sucks up or absorbs the higher light frequency that comes with it. So this is something that, as I'm defining it, just to help you understand how it works, but you don't need to think about it. You don't think, is my heart going to beat one more time? You know, it just does. It's part of the autonomic nervous system. And so too are these codes. They're going to go into everybody. They're going to activate. And, you know, there are so many people on this planet. Okay, let me say it differently. There have been layers and levels of these light codes as they've been coming in. You could call them light codes. You can call them solar flares. You can call them just shifts and boluses of energy that come actually from the universal beings. You know, they're out in their ships, and some of them will send impulses of light. So they're coming from multiple different sources. But what they're doing is, that's what broke down the old paradigm. That's what broke down the matrix, if you want to call it that. That's what broke down that collective consciousness. We're talking about 8 to 10 years ago. So since that time, that's what's now allowing so much more of these light codes to come in. And if someone is not in a vibrational alignment with the codes, then they're just going to go through them and move on out. They might stay in their energy field. But when people are having so many symptoms right now, tiredness, not sleeping, isn't that funny? They're exhausted, but they don't sleep. Many people in their dream state are working very hard. They're going out to the universe. They're going to places where they're teaching. They're going to places where they're taking classes, you could say. So there is a great deal that is happening right now on the planet. And these codes and solar flares are what's igniting things. And in doing so, that's what's helping people to awaken. If these codes, if these light codes were not coming in, people would still awaken, but it would be way slower. So this is a way of prompting things along. And there are a number of people that ascended masters, universal beings, even some of you that are on the earth plane, that literally kind of hang out in the higher vibrational frequency. And when these light codes come in, they're connecting to them and amplifying how they work. Do you have to do that? No. But do you want to do that? Yes. Then go right ahead and do it. You cannot mess up these light codes. You can only amplify them or help them to be integrated more easily. Whew. So it's exciting, really, about all that's happening. There's just so much happening on this earth. And this is why, as we talk about those underside of things, those that negativity, that hidden thoughts, beliefs, realities, that's what is being broken up by these light codes as they come in. That's what's sitting around in a person's energy field. And then they start looking at their life saying, what the heck am I doing here? Why do I have this life? I want something else. And then choose. There are those that sit there and say, I want something else. I want something else, and do nothing to do it. Or they feel that energy, understand what it means, and begin actively moving in a new direction. So that's what we see coming from a lot of these light codes. Okay. Can you see what Trump is doing behind the scenes, or what the public sees? You know what? I'm going to ask you to give that to Brysentia or Albayon, because I just see Trump as this brilliant white light, and I don't know all the nuances behind it. I will say that from my perspective, he has those that you call a hybrid. He has a lot of galactic energies in him. He has always had them his entire life. And then when he made the choice to do this job, to take this on, he went up and he spent much time out in the universe, as did Melania, as did Baron, as did all of the children, the other children to a degree, not as much. But those three came in, think about a triangle and the stability of a triangle, to anchor that universal energy in them. So when I look at him, that's all I see. I don't see the other stuff. And so let someone else that can see it differently explain it better. At what point does the dark, negative, and dangerous people go away? They go away when they have no power. As long as people are giving them power, as long as people are tuning into their fear and anxiety, and as long as people let themselves be led down a pathway, then that's giving them power. So when they spoke of the loosh that was so prevalent on this planet, that's gone. If there's any at all, it's a minute amount compared to what it used to be. So the negative people will be gone. Non-participant players, because I remember Brysentia, I think it was, saying that a lot of them would just kind of disappear. So as I'm looking at your planet now, I do still see that there's quite a few of them there, but it's not as many. It's maybe less than 50% of what it was just 1 or 2 years ago. And as this continues to transition, they will just, kind of disappear from your reality. But there is negativity still. You know it. We all know it. And the more that each person shines the light on themselves and they step into their own light and their own truth, then that just shines the light for everybody else. So once the nefarious ones are over and done with completely, then at that point, you will just see a marked drop off, and everyone will be like, oh, wow, it's so good to have that gone. I just heard something. I don't think it's a truth, but these negative people have been, like, if you trace it back to the true origin of where it came from, it's been here through eon upon eon upon eon. And I hear some of them saying, okay, we might have to go underground for another 1,000 years or something like that, but we will be back. And I want to say, no, you won't. I mean, I don't want to say, I am saying, no, you won't, because the earth is ascending. And when you have this planet within your solar system that's ascending to a certain degree, and then all of the planets around it, the Milky Way galaxy, this universe, everyone is ascending to these higher vibrational frequencies. They cannot come back. So they will not come back. But they think that, okay, we'll just bide our time. We'll be back. So at some point they will give up, and that's what they think they'll be doing. They'll be going inside to hibernate and come back when the energy is right for them again, but it will not be. Hey, Mary. Okay, anybody else? All right, this is great. How fun that I got to go first. So all of my friends, my loved ones, I feel as if I'm becoming a part of you. And I so honor and respect everything that you are going through. I've said it before, I wouldn't want to be human. It's a tough, tough experience to have. And so I very much honor and respect you for making that choice to come in and go through this process. But I'm here, I'm your anchor, and I will always love you unconditionally. I will always shine the light of love and balance and energy. And boy, oh boy, my intention is shine it into any darkness or closet or anything that is hidden, that everything comes to light right now. All right, beloved friends and family, I'm always with you on Saluia. Greetings. It is I, Albayon. I come to you at this point because my perception is that the last time we got together was a month ago or 3 weeks ago. I understand in your Earth years, or your Earth time space reality, it was only 2 weeks ago. But for all of you that keep saying nothing's happening, things are going so slowly, everyone has a certain perception of how they want to see things happening. Just again, using the US as an example, that with the end of the tax season, they wanted it to be known the IRS is shutting down completely. Well, that was an option, and that was something that so many people tapped into. However, what they're doing is they're building up income from tariffs and working out all of those details, and then you will be hearing them shut it down. So when people have had the perception that it's going away, they weren't wrong. It's just the timing, and the timing is everything, because so many people, because there's just so many different potentials. I agree with what Crystallia said about the negativity right now, that it is really coming up. It's like it's bubbling up to the surface, so that people can get rid of it. And the perception is that there are so many people that believe in this negative stuff, but they don't. They don't believe it. They just are playing a role. And so I think that is going to become very evident to people as time goes on. Now, the Pope died yesterday, according to your truth and your reality. So I wanted to look at that, and I wanted to look at what was the message behind why was J.D. Vance there on Easter Sunday, right before all of this happened. And what are the messages that are being brought from that? So give me a second to get quiet here and to really tap into it and see what comes about. So it feels as if the Pope was actually taken out in 2017, maybe 2018. Him and all of the other upper level, I see as plain as day the auditorium that they keep secret from people, that is the serpents. I see their nefarious deeds, and I see, the nastiness that was them. So when this took place, these are people that are very accustomed to keeping secrets and to lying and to putting forth. So when all of that upper echelon was removed, there was another group that stepped right up into it. And many of them felt like, okay, now it's my turn. I get to be the ruler here. And many of them went straight down that pathway of degradation because they were already on it anyway. And they were trying to recreate it. So when you consider the Vatican, and when you could, sorry, Shelley's like, reminding me that we do probably have to be careful because she doesn't want to be taken down again. Even though the perception is there's less, what's the word when you censoring, but they're still censoring. So we're going to be very careful, but you know what we're talking about here. So the people that were in that building over there in Italy, many, I would say probably 40 to 50% of them are the real people that stepped up into that place that think they're doing what they have the right to do because of their power. And that's what gives credence to when people tap into it, and when people are looking at this and they say, oh, but they haven't taken the Pope out. There's a Pope over there. Look at all those people. I can still feel the nastiness. I can still feel the negativity. Well, yes, you could, because the people that stepped up into that place when they took out all of the ones that had been so bad. Okay, so the Pope was taken out. They did not replace the Pope. There were many times when he was shown waving from his window when it was CGI. And this, we believe that you've also seen those images because they would move a certain way and suddenly he blinked out. So that was the CGI. There were also times when there was an actor that was playing the role of him. And that actor is now relieved that it is all done. So here's the question. There is a lot of energy right now that is saying, okay, the Pope died, and they're just going to take a very long time before they bring in a new Pope. And, oh, shoot, are we saying that? They're going to take a long time to bring in a new Pope. And then when they finally don't, they're going to say, well, this is why we're not doing it. But that doesn't resonate with me. But that's the role that a lot of people would like to have it play out. What I think is going to happen so let me speak for a moment about J.D. Vance there. He was there specifically to trigger the energies. He was there specifically. He had a role to play, and he was playing his role just like everyone else was. Those videos that they saw, that didn't really take place on Sunday. That took place a few days ahead of time, but it was structured that it would show on, Saturday, Sunday, that this time they saw him, and then they would say that he passed. He had been, according to the way that they portrayed him, he had been very, very ill. And in fact, even when they took him out in 2017, he was very ill at that time and did not have very long to live. So, so the big question is, when are they going to tell the world? We get a no, they're not going to talk about it right now. So are they going to talk about it in May? We get a maybe. Are they going to talk about it in June? So it feels like over the next 2 months or so, there will be things that are going to be leaked out about the V and what they've been doing, and about the way in which the Bible was misconstrued over all these thousands of years. These, what is it, 2,000 years or something like that? And but this is no matter when they do it, it's going to be devastating to many, 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 many people, even those that are not devout. It's going to still be devastating to them because their perception is that their foundation is being broken apart and is not what they thought it was. So that's why they're going very, very slowly with how they're going to leak out information and what they're going to do about this. But I do feel that there will be some significant things, i.e., the fact that there was a lot of demonic behind it, the fact that that they deliberately misconstrued what was in the true Bible, and the fact that they worked with certain things that were against nature of humanity, meaning you couldn't marry, you couldn't have children. And even though if you look through the years, many of them did, but you will find that a lot of that is the type of thing that's going to come out this year. And then when you go further in and when things go, we do not see that the whole entire Christian church is going to collapse. Because of course that would create dramatic instability, that would create fear and anxiety, and that is not compatible with the fifth dimension. So there will be disclosure, there will be things that come out, and it's going to come out in such a way that it'll be slowly, and it won't be It's still going to be a shock, but it won't be what people expect. So you'll see them going through the illusion of the what do you call it? The funeral, just as they did in England with the you know what. There was still that illusion that this was going on. And so as a lot of these people come together, because this is going to bring the world together, everybody's going to send their delegates, and you will have all these people from the world. And that's going to be when there is a big disclosure will come out, because everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be put on alert. Everybody's going to be notified. And they already are notified. That's not something they haven't been notified yet. But it is going to be the beginning of the type of disclosure that you guys have been waiting for. Okay, so we can circle back around if someone has a particular question about him, but I'm just like, there's nothing to say. There's he was a horrible, horrible person that was 100% a part of the reptilian race. And he had given up. Well, I don't know that someone can really give up their soul, because your soul is always your soul. But he had so very far disconnected from it through all the horrific things that he did, that he was just a shell of the person that he started out when he started down that pathway. But it was all 100% his choice. And yeah, there's nothing else to say about him. Okay. So it is going to have some pushback, and it is going to be a means of disclosing, but it's not going to be everything all at once, because that's too traumatic. And that leads me to think about, what is that everyone keeps asking for? The disclosure, EBS, is that what it is? Emergency Broadcast System? Yeah. I still think they have decided not to have a specific emergency broadcast system. They will have something. They will give people information. They will delegate what's going on. But when you look at what they've been doing since they took office back in January, they're already telling people a lot of these things that have been going on. And when you see what the administration is doing, what the people that they're rounding up, the changes that they're making to the government, they're already implementing much of the things that they said they were going to implement. But in the implementation of that, that's what's opening up the door. For example, all of those things that were exposed by Doge. So then the next layer of that is going to be, well, this is how we're going to give back to the people. This is how we're going to reorganize this. This is what's going to happen with this. Because you hear people talk about that they're letting go thousands and thousands of federal employees, and a great many are being let go. That is true. But I believe that if you really look at things, and if you really look at the people talking, you will see that it's not thousands and thousands of people that are let go, because there just simply weren't that many that were on the books. Or if they were a human and on the books, then and they weren't doing their job, then they're just taking the severance and moving on to something else. But yeah, the reorganization is a big deal. And it's going to take longer than what people were anticipating. But at the end of it all, they're going to have a much more efficient government. There will be many, many, many different aspects of it that will no longer function, because those aspects were used to funnel money directly back into the pockets of many of those, both Republicans and Democrats, that were doing illegal activities. It was predominantly the Democratic Party, not saying it as a judgment, but just saying that that's what I can see when I look back over the last 30 to 40 years. That was predominantly the ones that were in charge of this, and those that were part of the nefarious, which was almost every single one of those presidents, and even as I see that a lot of the things that they've talked about doing, other presidents have talked about doing, and then someone came in, corrupted them, and they took it away, i.e. tariffs. Wanting to do Nasara back around the turn of the century, in 1998, 99, something like that. So there were things that are happening right now that were going to happen in the past, but the people always became corrupted. And that's why it took someone like Trump to be there with this true alignment into the universe that cannot be bought off. And that's what makes them so crazy. Okay. Let me see. I feel like there's something. Mm, okay. So another thing that let me talk about the financial system for just a minute. Every time I look at the planet, what I asked to say, well, what can you tell me about the financial system? What I see is the gold backed system, i.e., the precious metals backed system, i.e., what each country has as their value, how their country is valued is on an equal standing to everybody else on the planet. That is lying underneath everything that's going on, and it's there and it's very stable and it's not going anywhere. It's going to be there. You cannot take it down. You cannot undo it. And that is the quantum financial system. So what they've been doing is they've been breaking down these big corporations that BlackRock was one of them that they talked about last time, I think, with Brysentia, and the stock market. So there are massive changes that are coming about, but be very, very clear that no matter what happens, and even though there may be the illusion that something is going to come down to zero, as they call it, or is going to completely crash, it's not going to crash. It's like an illusion. It's like something on paper that they're doing as a means of transitioning from one type of financial system to the other. If you ask me, I've been saying for 3 years, at the very least, 3 solid years, that I see the quantum financial system is in place. So the difference is bringing it up into something that humanity can see, having people understand that when they go to the bank, their funding in their banks is now being supported. I still see like a few little holdouts, but most of the big banks, I just see that they have capitulated and they either changed over their top management, or the top management recognized, I got no choice. I've got to do this now. And so this is why I really feel as if the financial system is very, very stable. People always ask, well, what about the Vietnamese, and what about the Arabic, like those different dinar, I think is one of them. And what about these different monies? When are they going to just jump right up? Like the cryptocurrency, when is that going to jump right up? Well, the potential was that at the end of last year that a lot of those were going to adjust, and many of them did adjust up as there was information that came out about the banking system. But then everything kind of balanced off. So there is I see a potential that is new to me this time as I'm looking at it, that there will never be a big, huge spike for any of these things because they're equilibrating everything in the background right now. Everything should go up. But as that money goes up, then so does the other money go up. So does the other money go up. So everything is going to be rebalancing in the background, and you may not ever see that huge spike in the value of it. There is still a certain amount of control and manipulation that's going on. And a lot of this I see as being part of the white hats, you could say, because they don't want too much, too fast, too soon. And so they're being very, very careful of making sure that everything comes along slowly. And in doing so, that's keeping these spikes from occurring. And because so many people say, yeah, I'm waiting for that big spike. I'm waiting for it to jump up so much, and then I'll make all this money and I'm going to be wealthy from it. Well, the number one question is, are you going to sell it at that time? Or are you going to wait for it to go even higher? Are you going to out-talk yourself from selling it at the time you should sell it? Number two, if millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people sold at the same time, then what's going to happen? Vroom, it's going to bring it right back down. So this is what they're trying to avoid. And this is why I think that a lot of these finances from around the planet are going to equal out and balance out. And it's not that people are going to lose the value per se, but rather than say cashing it in, getting a chunk of money and putting it in your account over here, you may just start using that account in equal to using the other account that you may have. They may just mesh with one another in such a way. Okay, so that's about the financial. And I know that you guys can ask more questions here if you'd like. There's another thing. Okay, so I talked about the Pope, talked about the finances. I'm trying to think of the things that that I like. If you ask me, if you just want my opinion about what's going on the planet, are we where we need to be? My answer is going to always be yes, it is. This Crystallia, as she talked about the dark being illuminated, this is what you're seeing now. You are seeing the last people that have the money that are able to fund these different ways of wreaking havoc. And because, like, just again, taking for example the United States, because that's where the focus is for so much. If he won, which I can see by 80 million, which was like more than like three-fourths of a three-fourths. Anyway, if he won by 80 million people, and that high percentage of the population of the United States, then these thousands of people that they're saying that are opposing him, it just doesn't make any sense. So which number's right? That he won by that much, or the opposing numbers? And my take on it is that he won by that much because everybody was so tired of the way that things had gotten, and they were ready for a change, and they knew, good, bad, or in between, they may not agree with everything about him, but he was the one that was going to make the change. So there continue to be people that say that he's bad, that he's just greedy as everybody else, and he's just going to take the whole nation right down that pathway of everybody else. And I have to say, no, he is not. So people that have that perception, I have no idea truly what they are tapping into. There are many people that say there are three Trumps that are out there, one that's the good guy, one the bad guy, one the extra. There's lots of different hypotheses. There's definitely two Trumps that you see in the limelight, but none of them are bad. They chose a long time ago. He chose a long time ago that he was not going to go down that pathway. And if people want to show pictures, if people want to show say, oh, he's at this party, he's at that party. Sure, he was there, but what was he doing there? That's the question. So there is no doubt in my mind that Mr. Trump made this decision to be in this position, to do everything that he needed to do. And he built up that company. He built up his family. He built up all of these things to be the support mechanism that he needed. So when you see him screaming and frothing at the mouth, I just don't understand what that's about, because that's not him at all. I don't know if that's AI generated. I don't know what it is. He can have that very abrasive personality that is a part of the legit him, but that again is coming from the culture that he grew up in. They just say it. They just say what they think. They just, so he can be very abrasive. However, he genuinely loves humanity. He genuinely loves the people of this country. And he genuinely believes in all that he's doing, that this is going to turn the country around. And it is, because I see that it's already, like, if you look at one of those great big massive cruise ships, that you think it takes so long for it to turn. Well, this cruise ship has turned, and it's almost made a 90-degree turn already. So the country is changing. And he is the only one that was able to do so, because you can see the many, many ways. If they couldn't buy him off, then they tried to discredit him. And that's the problem, that people look at those things and they think they're real, but they weren't real. And that's where people's discernment is so very, very, very important. Now, I'm not going to go on about it anymore, because I believe that you guys all know and you have your own opinion. But I did want to just share that, because that is a key factor in everything that's going on. The white hats, the good guys, whatever you want to call them, they do not make clones. They don't. That is something that was 100% part of the nefarious beings. And you could see that the clones malfunctioned all the time. What was it? Someone was giving a speech, and it was just like a robot that just, because they were out of energy, they had to plug them in and recharge them, so to speak. So they just don't do that, because that is against humanity. That is against the way of being a human. So yes, there is a body double. Yes, there are people like there. One time he's out there, one time the other guy is out there, because not one person could do everything, could be everywhere, could do everything that needs to be done. So they are always in contact with one another. I just heard I heard that he's in Cheyenne Mountain. There are times when he will go to Cheyenne Mountain when they feel that there's a legitimate threat. But at this time and since the election, it's if one goes to Cheyenne Mountain, then it's just to rejuvenate, and then they'll switch back out again. Okay. Okay, yep, true. There are two Melanias also, but not as much as there are. Like the two Trumps are just literally, like you in one day you may see both of them. With Melania, it's just at certain excursions and things, she has an altar or separate or secondary, a secondary double that will go out and present for her. Let me talk about that. That's a great idea. So someone said, well, can you talk about their galactic connection? There's a lot of the Pleiadian energies in them, but Trump also has Andromedan energies in him. He is actually a mixture of different strains from out in the universe. And especially during that first time when he was in office and they were attacked constantly. And in fact, look at some of the videos and you could see directed energy weapons coming at him, and then they just kind of deflected off because he had a shield around him. So during that time when there was so much, he was going up to the ships almost nightly to rejuvenate, to to lay in a med bed, to be a part of that, to feel better. And so yeah, they are all consciously aware of it. They know that it's going on, and they know that they're going to be the ones that break it to the rest of humanity. Some of the other countries may say it first, but he is very competitive, as you know, and so he's the only one that's going to say it. But we don't care who says it because it's already being spoken about on many, many different layers and levels. So whoever finally says it, it'll be like, oh yeah, we knew that. It won't be like a big surprise that, oh, there's ETs? Really? What's that all about? Because everybody will already be entrained. Okay, I've talked a long time, so let me go ahead and take some questions. Plan for the USA and the world, the same plan for humanity presented in the Law of One books. Okay. Basically, yes. There are some things that are different because the Law of One books, we're talking about theories and intentions, and it was like a generalized outline. So when you look at his plan for America and the interactions with the rest of the world, yes, that basic outline is a part of it. However, when you start getting down into the specific details, some of that may change a little bit, and there may be some differences. But he is 100% connected into the same energies, which is what I was just talking about. And so, yes, there's a direct correlation between the two. Is there a reason we are not using pyramids to grow better crops, do healing, and all the other things that the pyramids are known for? I'm just laughing. And believe me, I'm not laughing at you. But I believe it was only 2 weeks ago that people even said the pyramids have power and energy sources under them. And now, well, why haven't we been doing crops with that? Why haven't we been doing this all along? Well, they weren't even shown to the world that this is what they could do. So they couldn't have been doing crops, and they couldn't have been doing those other things because it was not known that that was how the pyramids could be utilized. And so through the disclosure that just keeps coming out bit by bit by bit, that is one of the ways in which you can clean the environment. And it will be one of the ways in which they clean the environment. And it will be one of the ways in which they help to support crops, and they clean. The US is one of the worst places in the planet for how they corrupted the soil and everything, but they're not the only ones. There are other countries that have equally bad soil that has been used pesticides and used other things, overgrown, just they have not been good stewards of the land. And so there are many ways that the ETs will come in and they will help to clear that land, and they can do so through just, touching it. And so it's when they will tap into the what do you call it, the energy sources that are part of the pyramids. But here's the thing: they've been dormant for thousands and thousands of years, and they can come back and they can start be used again, but they're not going to start up in an instant. It's a process. That process has begun on some of these pyramids, but it's a process of opening up, of realigning, of reactivating, and they have to get the species that built those pyramids to be the ones that come back in and reactivate that. So that started maybe about a year or so ago. And this is one of the reasons why people are saying, oh my gosh, did you see what's beneath the pyramids? People have been looking beneath the pyramids for years and no one ever saw anything. Why is that? So this is all a part of the disclosure. It's about people see things when they're supposed to see things. They know things when they're supposed to know things. And so they are awakening the energy sources that are the pyramids themselves and what's underneath the pyramids. And in doing so, that there will be a lot of discussions, because that in and of itself can heal the whole entire planet. Gaia herself could come in and just do a bolt of energy that comes from within that could transition the whole entire planet. So there are many different ways in which it can be done, but everyone's going to take it in a very slow, methodical way. So it will be 6 months to a year, I would say, before they actually start using it as a regular energy source. Please speak about the chemtrails. I see them in Maui. The Air Force must be aware of this. So for the most part, chemtrails are not happening in the majority of the planet. There are still places where the people that, okay, if you go back to what the chemtrails were when they were at their height and they were 100% being authorized and used by the nefarious ones, there was a lot of things that were like to cause people's brains to solidify instead of that pliable energy that people would have in their body. You know, things were done. There were heavy metals that were put into that, and those heavy metals would be ingested and in through the skin and in the crops and everything like that. So none of that is happening anymore. Nowhere. There are still chemtrails. There are still some things that you'll see. And some of it is leftover people still trying to continue what they were doing before. But there are also some of these chemtrails that are done to heal and to clear energy. So when I look at it, I don't get that 100% of them are negative. I get that some of them are actually there to clear the energy. So when I look at Maui and I ask the question, because we all know what happened to Maui, was that 18 months ago or something like that? And that was one of the last stands that the nefarious ones did. And they tried to redo it again in North Carolina, and they tried to redo it again in Florida. But even though there was definite 100%, not 100%, but there was definite significant damage, even in Maui, there were horrific things that happened, but it still was not as bad as they had intended it to be. They had intended to basically wipe out the population of that entire island and take it over. And that obviously didn't happen. Yes, there was loss of lives. Yes, there were terrible things that happened. There's no doubt about that. But it was never as bad as it was intended to be. So when I look at it, and she's asking about the Air Force, and most of the Air Force has, the Air Force, the military in the U.S. has been in a process of cleaning up ever since his first term. And so there are still some people that I see that are in the military that have not 100% capitulated. So there may be some negative things that are going on, but I feel like it's just a tiny fraction of what it might be. So when I look at Maui and I look at this, it does not feel like it's something that, it does not feel heavy and negative and oppressive. There may be aspects of that are, and that people that are physically living there, that may be their perception. But as I'm looking at it as a whole, most of it feels to me like it's been cleared out and it's just like residual, and it's not filled with the negative chemicals that it was. Greetings. Will the previous president of Mexico, A.M. Lopez Obrador, be found tied to the cartels? Yes, he was 100% tied to the cartels. The question is, was he weak and they took him over, or was he strong and he took the cartels over? The way I see it, it was that the cartels took him over. He did come in with the best of intentions. He did think he was going to bring down the cartels, and he did start to that degree, to, you know, in that way. He did start by trying to take them down and trying to implement the change that Mexico needed. But the problem was he didn't have enough support around him, and the cartels, they basically just, in the way that they always have, they made threats to his family. They made threats to many of the different people around him, and he just had to capitulate. But we do see that the cartels are dismantling as we speak. We do feel that two major heads of the cartels have been captured, and they're being held in a high security prison. And if they haven't already gone on trial, they will be going very soon. And with the removal of those two, there's some that are scrambling, thinking they're going to take over, but those are being taken out also. We do feel that the cartels and everything that they did is going to be dismantled. It may take another 6 months or even a year, but the new president is working with President Trump, and even the American military is going in there in support of the Mexican president and working with them to pull out the cartels. There are, of course, those people that say, no, this is the United States taking over Mexico. No, they are only interested in getting rid of the nefarious ones and bringing an end to this torture that they've had over this segment of Mexico. Mexico is a beautiful country that is filled with many portals. Look at the pyramids that are in Mexico. And so they will, when this is all said and done, when they've gotten rid of all of these people, you are going to see that Mexico is going to turn around in a big way, and they will become one of the major energy sources for that part of the world. Whew, that's exciting for them. Is the UK or other places in Europe really being taken over by Muslims, or is that all fear-mongering? What will become of the Muslim spread, move-in, and cultural takeover movements? There's a very large degree of fear-mongering that's a part of that statement that I just read. However, there are also many Muslims that left their countries because of the war that was instigated there. We're talking going back to ISIS, and we're talking even between the Palestinians and the others. You know, there's been so much unrest in the Middle East that they have been constantly moving away for a very long time. So there is a certain number that are going there with the intention of trying to take over these countries and make them their new country. However, what we see happening in the not so distant future is that most of them are going to go back home. They have to get rid of what's happening in Israel. They have to get rid of what's happening in some of these other Muslim states, so that they will not be persecuted in the way that they were. There's a certain percentage of these, maybe a third of them, that are there specifically to wreak havoc and to try to control and manipulate and take over. But there's 2/3 of them that are there is trying to escape the torture, trying to escape what's been going on in their countries. So as their countries get cleaned up, there's the vast majority want to go back to their own country. That's their homeland. That's where they're from. That's where they want to be. But the ones that want to take over Europe and make all of Europe and all of the United States and all of Australia and that want to take it over and do what you're talking about. That's a very small fraction, maybe a fourth of them to a third of them, and a lot of those non-participant players. A lot of them are non-participant players. So as soon as this energy changes and they start moving back, then a lot of them will just disappear, and you will see that there's going to be a much greater balance in the future. Do you see the value of silver going up dramatically before the end of the calendar year? And what is the timeline you see for this to occur? Kind of like what I was talking about with those other monies. I do feel as if the value of gold, silver, which the vast majority of people are able to acquire fairly easily, I do see that the gold is going to still go up even more, but it's going to actually come down and balance out because that's been a little bit artificially inflated. And then I see that the silver that's been artificially deflated is going to make a big, huge jump up. And so it's going to go up quite a bit. But then you'll see kind of a balancing out of all of these. So the question is, are we going to see that? You'll see it once they have completely become open about what's going on with the financial system and the gold back of the world, and the change in the quantum financial system. As soon as that happens, then all of these restraints will be removed, and you will see everything spike up, and then everything will come down into a balanced place. So that spike is not going to last forever, but okay, they said okay. So if silver is, say, $30 an ounce right now, I have no idea. It might be probably a little more than that. I do see silver going up to, okay, so 500, 1,000. I do have a sense that by November, December, I'm feeling the energy of silver as being over $1,000 per ounce. However, that's that kind of inflated. And I feel like when it comes down and it's at that place of balance, it's more around the 800 to 900 level or something like that. I'm just picking up on numbers as they are today, as they're coming into my energy. Any of that can shift, and the actual specific numbers can shift depending on what's going on by other sources. But this is what I perceive at this time. What is the likelihood of the housing market crashing or correcting to more affordable pricing before the end of 2025? Is it wise to hold off buying property for the time being? The housing market is not going to crash like it did in 2008. At that time, there were many people that were buying way outside of what they could afford. And since they had no value in the money, they walked away. And that's what caused a crash. What I see happening now is that everything all over the place is at this hyperinflated value. And so what I see happening is a revaluation. Now, you've heard people talk about after the quantum financial system opens up and after everything balances out from that, there'll be a revaluation of everything that's going to bring it all down. I'm not talking about that. That's kind of like the revaluation of the entire planet and creating the equal playing ground. This is something that could happen. It feels like things have been kind of stalled for a while, for probably about 6 months or so. I do feel like the prices of things are going to start to come down, but what they're waiting on now is for the economy to reset itself. And as oh, we know, I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. I was just going to start talking about tariffs and the importance of them and the value of them and how that's really going to stabilize the United States. You cannot doubt that that's going to stabilize the United States. But as we get into this, at the very beginning of it, until things can get balanced out, it is going to be frightening to people. And there will be some things that you will see going up in price. But you will also see that there will be a leveling out sooner rather than later. And in that leveling out, then you'll see the price of rental property come down. You'll see the price of homes come down. But I do not see a crash like what we saw in 2008. I mean, at that time, it was a significant drop, and there were many foreclosures, and I don't see that happening this time. So if you're someone that's waiting to buy a house, I would say don't wait, because there are so many people that are waiting to have more money, waiting to have the job, waiting to have the relationship, waiting to have the house, waiting, waiting, waiting. I feel that everybody needs to be living their lives. If you see a house you like and you can afford it, buy it. If you see an apartment that you like, or you want to move, or you want a new job, then do it. Don't always wait around for something outside of you to happen, and then you're going to do it, because those people that are waiting for something to outside of them to happen, they never see it happening, even if it is. So be that person that is proactive. Be that person that if you see something you like, you can afford it, then jump on it. Go for it. All right. Anything else? In Canada, we have an election coming up in 6 days. What do you feel the outcome will be? I feel all parties that are running are corrupt. So when they took out Trudeau, there was a big not vat, what is that word? A vacuum that was created in Canada. And people, as you know, people find a similar vibration. So those that were also corrupt are like, look, let me jump into it. Oh, I can be a part of that. Oh, let me go do it. And so we do feel that there's still a lot of corruption around the people that are at the forefront. However, what we also see is this is just the image that I'm getting, is that all of these people are running and scurrying and scrambling and trying to get there, trying to be the next person in office, because they think, oh, that I can get all that money and I can do all those things. And I see like a circle around them of the white light. And I take that to be all of those people that are of the light, all of those people that are going to be the final ones that come in and stabilize things. They're there, they're waiting, they're ready to step in. But the election is going to go off, and you're going to see a lot of corruption, and they're going to be showing that to everyone and say, look, this is corrupt. Look at what happened here. And it's going to be used as a means of showing how the corruption got into Canada in the first place, what's been going on with it. And then we see all of these people just waiting to step forward. So even though right now it seems like it's a terrible thing and that there's only negative for Canada, I see that it's a short-term period, and then everybody's ready, everybody's in place, and they will all come in a very short period of time. All right. So was there anything else? I just am noticing the time. We probably need to go on to Brysentia, because Shelley will get tired here in a minute. So thank you, everyone. I truly enjoy these times of conversation with you. I love that I can feel your questions, and even as I'm talking about something, I'll get your questions as you continue to answer. This type of telepathic communication is getting more and more and more prevalent. Do you see it in your everyday life? Most of you do not. But it is coming. It is a potential. And the more that you practice working with energy, the more you will see it showing up in your life. So I'm always around you on Saluia. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. Woo! This is very strange. I cannot remember the time I came in here last. And I must say that I can feel Shelley's tiredness by coming in here last. So very strange, because usually she's a lot more, has a lot more energy when I'm the one that is speaking through her. They both already talked about the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, the positive, the negative. And this duality that has been very much a part of the planet for thousands and thousands and thousands of years is something that will transition into that being balanced. There will still be negativity, there will still be positive, but instead of it being imbalanced, it will be a balanced perspective. I do think that in many, many cases, because you've been so imbalanced into the dark and imbalanced into the negativity, there will be many cases that as you're shining that light onto it, huge amounts of energy will just disappear or go away. And that is what is bringing the energy up to be in a more balanced space. Not everything is meant to be always rosy and peachy keen and everything is wonderful. Life on earth is about making decisions, making choices, having the opportunity to live both sides of the coin, having the opportunity to experience hardship, because as you struggle and move through hardship, you are becoming strong in yourself. Maybe you're strengthening your faith in God. Maybe you're learning how to depend on other people. There's so many different things that happen when you're in a place of struggling. So not all struggle is negative. Not all happy and joy is positive. Sometimes people find themselves all happy and joyful, but the perception, there's nobody else like that around them. They're all alone. So no matter where it is in life, always seek that balance and understand that there's a great deal of negativity that has had to be exposed. And as these different types of negativity are exposed in each individual person, you will begin to find that there are so many more things that will then be able to come out. There's a lot of people that are talking right now saying the P and then the D that who we're talking about, that, oh, they're just making him worse than it was. They're making him the scapegoat. He's no scapegoat. He was 100% active in all of what has been portrayed about him. So if people are coming about and trying to minimize his actions, do not listen. That being said, all of these other people that you have known on the list, on the different activities that you've heard people talk about, as you know, that one of the things that the nefarious are trying to do is to normalize it. And so be aware that you're not going to, you cannot normalize these things. They're just not good. Bottom line, there's a stronger amount of what's the word? The people that were in charge for so long wanted to blur the lines on everything. Because if you blur the lines on everything, then people do not have a strong opinion one way or the other. It's like, oh, well, I can see that, or I could see that, or this is a potential, that's a potential. Well, if I've got 10 different potentials, which one am I going to choose? I will stay indecisive. So that was actually a goal or an intention that was put forth by the nefarious people. So as that's all being peeled away, people are now beginning to see, okay, well, here's a line in the sand, and I'm going to believe this, or I'm going to believe that. But I understand and I know that in making these decisions, I'm making them based on the information that I'm gathering and what I believe to be truth. So as you do that, then a lot of these little wishy-washy things are just going to go by the wayside. So be aware that the people that are trying to normalize things, the people that are trying to say that it wasn't so bad, because there's going to be a lot of really hard information for that there will be many people that will try to disclaim it and normalize it, but it's something that society has got to get through, and you have to be strong. You guys know what we're talking about. You guys are going to be the ones that have to say to your friends, it stinks, but we're going to get through this. And Shelley was going to use a different word, or I was going to use a different word. But anyway, you know what we mean. And so there are many different disclosures that I just see they're on the brink. It's like they've already been printed. They've already been put out there. They just haven't been published. So as these publishes come through, and I know what they said about the P over there in Italy. I think that they are going to tell you a lot more, because there's just different perspectives of what you see, of how much is disclosure, how much is already known, and how much is going to be new. And my perception is that they're going to use this to start just spewing out information after information after information. And they will do so because now is the time for people to know. Okay, I feel like there was something else I wanted to say. I don't know. Let's do questions, because maybe then it'll come back to me what I was going to say. Does the signal electric relief from the pain patch have any bad side effects? signal electric relief from the pain patch. You know, speaking of that, through Shelley's consciousness, she's been noticing that there's a lot of things like sheets that you can plug in that have a particular wave, machines that you can be under the ultra red light or the LED lights. And so there's a lot of different technology that's coming out. And some of it's going to work great, and some of it will work for some people. Not all of it's going to work for every single person. So if there's something that you feel drawn to, then go ahead and try it out. And if it works for you, great. But be aware that there's no one thing that's going to work for everybody in exactly the same way. So this one that you were talking about, I don't see a negative effect. I'm tapping into it, and I'm not seeing anything here. To me, if it's improving your symptoms, if you're feeling better, you're getting your agility back again, then all good. If you have the patch on and you suddenly are feeling more uncomfortable, then it's not working. So this is about using your discernment. This is about how it will work great for one person, but not necessarily another. Like some of these processes that they have going on for people, if someone is already super vibrationally a high frequency and they get into some of these things, then it may just be too much of a different frequency and they may feel worse after being in it. So this is why you have to use your discernment, and not everything is going to be there for everyone. What will some 5D level solutions for invasive insects and insect plants and critters? For some reason, as we were reading that, I jumped down to Australia. I don't know if that person was writing from Australia, but that's where we went. There is a lot. Okay, we've talked many times over the years about the vibrational frequencies and the energy that gets sent off from that and the effect that that has on the environment. So a lot of these invasive creatures or insects or things that do harm, some of them were genetically modified and intended, you know, there were laboratories that created them and released them to go do negative things. So those are no longer happening. There might be one or two in different places, but not in the broad spectrum like it used to be when so many of the nefarious ones were in charge. So that will minimize some of what's been going on. For those that are like just the natural insects, the natural animals, bugs, critters, you know, Earth had its own intrinsic balance. And so much of that will go back into a state of balance. So the biggest key is that when you don't have laboratories or you don't have places that are creating, like the killer bees that were released, like the different illnesses that were released, the different, like enhanced mosquitoes, the different things that they had, as it's no longer being manipulated, then on a natural course of evolution. And for a lot of these, their evolutionary pattern is 6 months, 3 months, you know, so that's a pretty quick turnaround time. So there's a lot of this that will just kind of change on its own when it no longer has anything that's feeding it that is of that low vibrational energy. Plus, just think of humanity. The more that humanity is vibrating at that higher level, then there's less that's going to be feeding it. Right now, there's still stuff that's feeding it, but that's not going to be forever. And so I think that you will see a big change in the insects and the different bugs and I'm trying to think of animals maybe. You will see a lot of this transition taking place over the next several years. But already it feels like there's a change that people can notice just from what things were like 4 to 5 years ago. Okie doke. What can we do to control invasive? We just did that one. Okay, it looks like that must have been the last one. Whew, well, we've been talking a long time again, almost up to an hour and a half, if not longer. So my last words, and since I'm the one closing this tonight, be very conscious of the time-space reality. Be very conscious of the fact that the more that there is a light frequency integrating throughout your planet, the more quickly things can transition, the more your thoughts and intention have an impact both for yourself and other people. Be aware that your way of manifesting can transition very, very, very quickly. There are some things that if things are not manifesting, you still feel stuck, then let go of everything. Make conscious changes in your thoughts, in your reality, in your actions. Don't sit around waiting. Take action, take movement, because movement in your life puts you into contact and connection with the other energies that are around you. I mean, you can sit here and you will be a magnet and there are energies that will come in. Yes, that is 100% true. However, if you're stuck, if you feel like things aren't working, then don't sit here and wait for things to work. Have movement in your life, make changes, go through the motions, do something that is different. And I would say to everybody, practice what it is to be in this high vibration. Practice what it is when you think about certain things, when you do certain things, when you meditate, experience everything for what it is. And then just understand, oh, it used to be a lot harder to do that. And now I can do it this way. So this is a beautiful, beautiful time to be a part of this whole process. Changes are taking place every single day. So be aware of those changes. We encourage those changes. And always, when you start seeing the negativity, just shine a light. Don't dip into it. Don't get sucked in. Just shine a light. All right, beloved. Thank you for having us all tonight. We so appreciate everyone that's been here within the chat. We appreciate the questions you sent in. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. Ansaluia. Woo. Okay, this is Shelley coming back. Wow. So much energy tonight. Oh, that was a lot. So yeah, especially right when I come out of channel, I'm just kind of collapsing right now. But thank you everyone for being here. I truly appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe and like or whatever it is that you want to do. And we'll be back again in a couple of weeks or so. Have a great day. Bye-bye.